Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Damage Report. Very glad to have you all here. We've got a lot of news to talk about. River Butcher is going to be joining us on the full Damage Report coming up in 1 hour and 10 minutes, so that's exciting too. By the way, I see a message from David saying, greetings from the snowy north. Is there a formal process to joining the Thunder, or does one just assume one's dragon name and off you/we/they go? It is really as simple as that. Theoretically, we're already a part of it by watching the show. Hell, you're not even just watching the show, you're watching the pre-pour, and you were here early, so I'd say you're already in, buddy. Anyway, Wheelie Sarky Dragon says in a super chat, hiya, John. Please look at the Air Carrier Access Act amendment discussed. It is supposed to be voted on this month. Write your reps, give dignity. Yes, so I have been looking into it, and I'm going to be following as we get closer to the actual vote and see a bit of news about it that we can actually talk about. Maybe we can put some pressure on people to vote the right way. Tyler, member for 4 months, says, love the show as always, Dragon for life. Well, thank you. Well, there are some dragons here, so I suppose there should be some news here. Hit the like button, please, as we jump into this, and let's see what's going on out there. First of all, a rundown of the numbers. Average national gas prices dropping again by nearly 2 cents. The reductions are continuing. It cannot go forever. I mean, there's going to be a lot of driving during the holiday season, right? We're now nearly 10 cents below we were at a year ago. And by the way, I want to couple that with one other bit of information. Inflation cooling off a little bit. Again, I think that sometimes there can be way too much focus on inflation, but it's supposed to be the most important thing ever, and it's supposed to be the sole, responsibility of Joe Biden. So I guess success or whatever. It's obviously complex. It's influenced by a lot of things. Hell, the fact that gas prices have dropped by like 70 cents a gallon in the past 2 months, that might be influencing it. Isn't that what we were saying at that point? Or, earlier on? That's one of the things that has led to an increase in the price of lots of the goods that need to be transported using gasoline. Anyway, hey, man, how's it going? Okay, other news. Apparently, everyone is waiting on Avatar to save the struggling box office. Let me first say, in case you don't know, I am actually, for all the crap I get for not being a big fan of music or whatever, even though I like music fine, I just don't obsess over the people who make it or feel the need to consume it as soon as it comes out or whatever. If it's a good song, I'll hear it. I am very much into movies. And so I will say, I don't like that the box office is struggling. I get it. I mean, how could the box office possibly be as good as it was when you have access to so much on-demand, amazing content? And, by the way, the fact that there used to be, and if you're really young, you may not know this, there used to be a big difference in the quality of movies versus TV. Okay, you'd have TV shows and you'd watch them and you'd like them, but then you'd go to the movies for like this big, amazing thing, this big production with the biggest stars. But that isn't how it is anymore. Like, the big stars are also on TV, or maybe more on TV. And, like, Andor was a TV show, but it was better looking than any movie that came out in the 90s, basically. So anyway, I get it. That said, I still like going to movies in the movie theater. I want them to do well. I want them to be making the sorts of movies that you do so that they will do well in the movie theater. That said, I do have a question for you. Scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most, how hyped are you for Avatar, The Way of Water? Frau, member for 17 months. Glad you're getting this chance to watch live. Sorry that you're feeling sick today. That is unfortunate. Okay, you get your answers in. Oztree Creeper, member for 23 months, says, good day from Australia. I've discovered one upside of anxiety and insomnia, though I find myself awake at almost 4 a.m. and finally able to watch the Damage Report live. That's awesome. Mina, don't worry. You're not the only person judging me for that. Paolo, I don't think they have Navi on Duolingo yet, but I'll have to check. Okay, I am seeing a wide range of numbers, including a 0 and a few negatives. The highest I'm seeing, I saw an 8. Hold on. I zoomed in there. I saw an 8. I see mainly 0s to 6. Oh, 7. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to say there are not a lot of people who are super hyped, but probably some people that plan on seeing it. I will say, I saw Avatar in the theaters. I might have seen it once more within the year after that. I liked it. it's just such a weird thing that it is this big thing. What if it was just an animated movie? Like, it could have just come out 8 years ago or whatever. It's so weird that why would this movie individually save the box office? Like, I understand that the first one was this runaway hit or whatever, but why would we expect that the second would, knowing that there has been very little desire for more Avatar since then, or at least desire that's been expressed publicly in any way that we can actually track? I just think it's weird. I'm probably going to see it, although I will say, like I said, for Black Panther, I'm not really into water stuff, like as an element. I know that sounds stupid, but like I don't really want to see Aquaman. Like, I don't really like stuff that takes place in the water. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because water is where sharks are and I don't trust it. I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to more news. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Here's a bad one. This is bad news for two people who are not usually linked. First the news, then I'll tell you who it's bad news for. 61% of Republicans want a different candidate than Donald Trump in 2024, according to a new poll. And 2-1, they would prefer that Ron DeSantis be that candidate. That is bad news for two, maybe three people. The first, obviously, is Donald Trump. That's not what he wants. The second is me, because I want him to be gone, but I also don't want Ron DeSantis either. So I want him to run, and it's starting to look like, man, they really might be turning against him. Now, what happens in a poll like this doesn't necessarily determine the effect of months of them campaigning against each other. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. It's also potentially bad news in the long run for Ron DeSantis, because if he has been considering what I would consider the safer bet, which is to just wait it out for the next time, this might inspire him to get in, which is a decision that he might come to regret. Anyway, I don't want to focus too much on this. Super early numbers. God only knows. We're obviously going to be tracking this a lot over the course of the next year. But that said, I want to get into our main story. Again, hit the like button if you haven't already. Looks like less than half of you have. That is a personal attack against me, and I won't bear it. But Ron DeSantis is doing this COVID panel. And usually you would do that to reassure people that you care. He's going in a different direction. I want you to take a look at this.
It goes back to the tunnel vision of like a Fauci only caring about like this one infection. You have a vax that maybe reduces that. If it's increasing other ways, then you're not any better off if that's
He's
the
doing
case.
Trump hand things, by the way.
Talk in those terms, when this thing was first introduced.
He was doing literally. Did you guys notice that? He was doing that and then that. He was doing all of the Trump stuff. This is not how normal people move their hands. When the person you're talking to is right here, you don't do this. But anyway, that's important for a couple of different reasons. One, look, I have a feeling that Dr. Fauci and the other doctors who are actually involved in the CDC and all that are not actually focused on just one illness. They are still obsessively focused on, until their death, which they are working very hard to expedite, not care about COVID. That is true. I don't think it's the only thing that Dr. Fauci cares about. That said, referring to it as just one infection, as a person who, and I will remind new viewers, who lost a family member in Florida, go fuck yourself, Ron DeSantis, with your just one infection. Do you know that more than 83,000 people died of COVID in just his godforsaken state? And there was no way that we were going to get to this point without some people dying in Florida. That was always going to happen. But who the fuck thinks it needed to be 83,000? Who thinks that there is no world that can be conceived of where that was 80,000 or 75,000 or maybe, just maybe, 25,000? And again, yes, as people are pointing out in the chat, with all the manipulation of the data, God only fucking knows how many people it actually is. 85,000 is what's down on the books. God only knows how many actually died because of this asshole and his political aspirations. And just a quick reminder before we move on to the watch list. I get Trump's the crazy one and all that, but this is a fucking reminder that at the end of the day, the difference is not that significant. Ron DeSantis may not do one of these things and say, maybe put the bleach inside the body, but at the end of the day, what is the fucking difference if he is advocating for people to actively ignore an ongoing pandemic. What is the difference? I get it. One seems a little bit crazier on the surface, and honestly might be a little bit easier for people to acknowledge as crazy and rally against. With Ron DeSantis, it isn't just that, I don't know, he's a little bit better at hiding it. It's that at the end of the day, he is just as insane and in the same areas. And that is why we still have to do a lot of work to make sure that people know who Ron DeSantis is, because there's a lot of myth making about how unique and special Donald Trump is, especially dangerous, especially crazy, especially conspiratorial. And in practice, that is just not actually how it is. And so we have a large job ahead of us in the next year. Me and the camera, everyone else in terms of conversation, getting out there and actually talking to people about who these people really are. Because at this point, we do not know who the candidate is going to be. And both of them bring incredible risks, incredible dangers. Now that said, Waz has joined Jared Jackson. They're watching this Candace Owens video. They're breaking down the news. You can head over to the watch list to go check that out. Reminder that if you didn't know already, over at my Patreon at patreon.com/JohnAdarola, my most recent podcast episode went up. Francesca Fiorentini joined me to break down the politics of Andor, responding to the anti-capitalist and anti-fascist messaging in that. So that's available at patreon.com/JohnAdarola, as well as a whole bunch of other podcasts and stories and all that. Non-political. Again, this is not about real news and politics. That's for TYT. But anyway, I'm going to be seeing you in less than an hour with River Butcher. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you soon.